What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Ralph's Real Reviews Disney Edition, where today we are going to talk about Dumbo. But before I get into that, I did want to say thank you guys for helping us reach our first goal of 10 subscribers. Real humble beginnings, but we all got to start somewhere, right? So, what I would like to do is by the time we get to about Cinderella, because we got a lot of reviews here that are not going to be huge clickbait, I'm sure. I don't know how many people are going to be looking up Saludos Amigos reviews or Melody Time reviews, but I'm hoping by the time we get to around Cinderella, we could be at our next goal, which is going to be 25 subscribers. So please continue to share with people you know, share with Disney fans, share with movie fans. Let them know what we're doing here, which is going through all 80 something Disney and Pixar movies and ultimately ranking them all. But as for today, we are only on Dumbo. Now, Dumbo is going to be a hard movie to review, and that is because there is a lot of racism in this movie. And I was trying to grapple for a second with how I was really going to address that. I think the best way to do it is to talk about my disposition at first, talk about the racism in the movie, and then move on. And not move on in the sense of ignore it, just say, hey, here's the spotlight on it. We're acknowledging it's there. And now let's talk about the rest of the movie. Assuming anyone who's watching this knows that my degree is in history, so I do have a little bit of experience with going back and looking at things that would not be acceptable by today's standards, whether that be race related, gender related, whatever. It's always kind of weird to put those things on a sliding scale, right? Of trying to take what we find acceptable today and applying it to people, events, whatever that happened in the past. So when it comes to Dumbo, we're going to try to do just that. We are going to look back. We're going to say these things were racist and they were bad. They were bad then, they're bad now. However, we are also going to acknowledge that the movie came out in 1941 and was produced in 1941. So we are going to judge it as a movie that was made in 1941 with some bad moments. Two moments in question are Happy Hearted Roustabouts, a song that comes around maybe the 30-minute mark of the movie. I don't know, I'm just spitballing. Where you have a bunch of laborers who appear to be black men, and they sing this song about being happy hearted roustabouts. And a roustabout pretty much is an unskilled laborer. I'm not going to go all the way into the lyrics. If you guys want to know, you could look them up. But suffice it to say, all of these men are portrayed as black. All of them are working alongside animals, and all of them are singing about how they don't know how to do anything. Second overt instance of racism here are the crows. And while you might be able to get over on happy hearted roustabouts if you're not really paying attention, you can't ignore the crows. The crows, led by Dandy Crow, who was initially storyboarded as Jim Crow. You could look into the historical significance of that. It could be whatever it was supposed to be, but the fact that these crows were led initially in the storyboard by a bird named Jim Crow, it's hard to kind of give them any benefit of the doubt as to what they were trying to allude to. So those things happened. Those things were bad. Obviously, we do not condone those things today. However, we are going to try to have an objective review on the movie with those things in mind. So let's move on to the plot. Mrs. Jumbo is an elephant who wants a baby, and it is literally delivered by the stork. She names the baby Jumbo Jr. That's Dumbo's actual name, is Jumbo Jr. However, when it is revealed that Jumbo Jr. has massive ears, the other elephants immediately make fun of him and call him Dumbo, not Jumbo. The rest of the movie continues on with, I don't know what to call him, Dumbo or Jumbo, with Dumbo, because that's what we know him as. The rest of the movie continues on with Dumbo not knowing he's being ridiculed for his ears, but his mom being very well aware of it. And it's everybody. It's the other elephants. It's the people. And eventually, there's this one boy who bullies Dumbo, and the elephant goes crazy. Mrs. Jumbo goes crazy. She takes him, spanks him, throws him in water, and because of that, she ends up getting locked up. The other elephants blame Dumbo for this, and at this point, Dumbo becomes aware that he is being bullied and ostracized. However, there is a mouse that is obsessed with the circus and seems to be against bullying. He realizes what's happening in Dumbo and kind of takes Dumbo under his wing. And, well, I guess Dumbo takes him under. I'm not going to go to that pun. Mouse's name is Timothy Q. Mouse. He helps Dumbo see his mother. He accidentally gets Dumbo drunk trying to, get rid of his hiccups. Ultimately, when they wake up, they end up in a tree. And now, when they're in this tree, they kind of accidentally stumble across the fact that Dumbo's ears, being so massive, allow him to fly. Ultimately, with the help of the crows and Timothy, Dumbo realizes that his disability or his deformity or whatever it is going to be the thing that helps raise him up as opposed to hold him down. And Dumbo the flying elephant becomes a household name. He's able to save his mom, and that's the story. Getting into these rankings, the animation, I'm going to say there's the sequence where you have pink elephants on parade. That is a very visually trippy thing. But I would say Fantasia and Pinocchio are still going to rank ahead of Dumbo. They came out a year before. I think that they have more innovative animation work that happened on those movies. Dumbo feels on par, even though it came out a year later. So I'm putting Dumbo there, and it's still going to rank ahead of Snow White. When it comes to storytelling, this was actually really close. I had Dumbo at 1, I had Dumbo at 3. I ended up putting Dumbo at 2 between Fantasia and Pinocchio because of the fact that it is only an hour long. Pinocchio at times felt a little bit dragged, whereas Dumbo comes in at just over an hour long, and that's all the movie had to be. It hit all the points it had to hit, it got to where it needed to get to, it told the story it wanted to tell, and it did so in an efficient manner that made Dumbo about an easier watch, is what I'll say. However, it was not as innovative as Fantasia, which is why I'm not putting it above that. But it is close. It was close between the three of them. But Dumbo, I think, fits right in the middle at 2 there. Next comes the characters, and this was pretty easy to put because when you look at the characters in Dumbo, you're really talking about Dumbo in terms of memorability. Snow White, again, Snow White, dopey, grumpy, evil queen. With Dumbo, it's really Dumbo. I think if you showed someone a picture of Timothy Q. Mouse, I don't think they can name him. Dumbo is going to be the only memorable character, although I will say I do think that Timothy Q. Mouse is an underrated character for sure. Disney factor was easy to place Dumbo at 4 because of the racism we talked about earlier. As you're watching Snow White, Fantasia, Pinocchio, and I could talk about Fantasia in a second at the end here. You don't really feel that taken out of the movie. But while watching Dumbo, it does kind of stand out. You're watching this movie, you're paying attention. Everything seems all lighthearted and fun, and then all of a sudden there was just like the most blatant racism you've seen so far in Disney. So I do think that that does take you out of it. Dumbo is going to be higher on this list than other Disney movies because there is some historical relevancy and some feeling of Disney magic in there. But out of the movies we've seen so far, this is the one that takes you the most out of it with things that happen within the course of the movie. Music was a little bit easier to do. It should have. You could argue that Dumbo could have been at 4, but again, the reason why I put Fantasia so low on music is because it is not original music. So because of that, Dumbo. When I'm looking at the course of the soundtrack, you have to feel some type of way about Happy Hearted Roustabouts. I think that takes points off. You have to feel some type of way about If I've Seen an Elephant Fly. Catchy song, but again, cringy at times. So really, at that point, what are you doing? You're comparing the other two Dumbo songs, maybe three, with what you get in Pinocchio and Snow White. So with Dumbo, the top song would be "Baby Mine." Snow White, you could argue it's either "Hi Ho" or "Whistle While You Work," and with Pinocchio, it's "When You Wish Upon a Star." And obviously, Dumbo comes third out of those three, even though "Baby Mine" is an amazing scene. I think that the relevancy of the song is not at the level of "Hi Ho," "Whistle While You Work," or "When You Wish Upon a Star." Then you have "Pink Elephants on Parade." Again, great scene. Animation wise, it's a great scene. But the music in and of itself just doesn't rise to the level of those other songs. Next, we have box office success. And I had to do some work here because I could not find on Box Office Mojo the actual box office returns for Dumbo. So what I did was I was able to find, and again, this is unverified. So if someone could get me the right numbers on this, put it in the comments, please. But from what I saw, Dumbo at the time of 1941 made about $1.3 million, which adjusted for inflation is about 25.8 million today. Which, when you look at Pinocchio, Fantasia, Snow White billion-dollar grosser, adjusted for inflation, 778 million, 631 million. Dumbo coming in at 25 million feels really bad. However, see, Fantasia and Pinocchio had about triple the budget of Dumbo, and they were actually losing the company money in the long run with those films. So when Dumbo came out, there was a strike that was going on with animators, and Disney had to kind of put that fire out. So what they did was they released this movie, which again was only an hour long. It was kind of a really quick release to try to make some money back for the studio. And some people argue that Dumbo financially saved the studio at the time because while Pinocchio and Fantasia were great artistic successes and they didn't make money, well, they had higher box office returns. They didn't make money, right? They cost the studio a lot of money to make those films. So Dumbo was a film that appealed to mass audiences, was made on a more responsible budget, and still profited a lot of money. Which really leads us into the historical significance of Dumbo, where I have it third over Fantasia. I'm not going to lie, that one was a really hard thing to do. I think the reason why I did it was because Dumbo, in and of itself, Dumbo is synonymous with Disney. I think when you look at Dumbo, you know that that's a Disney character, and he is still in the parks in a multitude of ways, right? He has his ride in Magic Kingdom and obviously in Disneyland. Casey Jr., I believe, is the train from Dumbo. Well, I know that it's a train from Dumbo, but I believe that that's still relevant in the parks. Dumbo as a Disney icon is still very much present in the mind of people today, as I think Fantasia is really present in the mind of artists today. So because of that, I have to give Dumbo the nod over Fantasia in terms of historical significance, even though I know that, again, the Fantasia fans will come at me for that. I'm positive. Finally, that takes us to our tier list, where I do have Dumbo at a movie that movie fans should see. I found it difficult. I really wanted to put it in that Disney fans only category. However, I do think that because of the fact that it is only an hour long and it's a really easy watch, I think that if you consider yourself a movie fan, it is important for you to watch this to understand the history of the company and where this icon came from. And I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it has great moments. I think it has bad moments. And I think that even if you're not a Disney fan, you can appreciate this movie for what it is, which is why I'm going to go ahead and put it in that second tier of movies that movie fans should see. But I will say, if there was like a sliding ranking, it's right there. It's like right on that border between what Disney fans should see and what movie fans should see. Hey guys, I just wanted to jump in and address real quick why I decided to call out the racism in Dumbo and not the racism in Fantasia. And the answer is pretty simple. I feel like with Dumbo, the racism is unavoidable in the version that we watch on Disney Plus. On Disney Plus, I'm assuming that's how most of us are going to go back and watch these movies. If we go back and watch these movies, you can't get past the crow scene. You can't get past happy-hearted roustabouts. Whereas I think the most overt form of racism in Fantasia comes from the character Sunflower, who is not present in the Disney Plus version of the movie. And if there are other pieces of racism in Fantasia that I missed it, right? Which means you can watch the program, you could watch the movie and appreciate the movie and maybe miss some minor instances. So that is why I decided to address it and critique it more so in Dumbo, because it's unavoidable. Whereas in Fantasia, there are, I'm not going to say ways around it, but you don't see it all in the Disney Plus version. But let me know your thoughts. Did I take it too easy on Dumbo? Did you have Dumbo higher? Let me know what's going on in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. And we're going to keep moving on through this, guys. Right now, I'm about to edit this video, upload it, and go straight into Bambi, which is going to be our next movie. So thanks for watching, guys. Continue to share, continue to subscribe, like, do all that. Let's get my TikTok up. I think our TikTok reached our goals too of 26 followers. My Instagram is at like 23. So let's continue to follow on Instagram, Ralph Reviews, on TikTok, Ralph's Rapid Reviews, and keep subscribing here for the full length Ralph's Real Reviews. Thank you, guys. Bye.